I got an email from my friend Derek at Sam Ash Direct the other day. I'm pretty sure I manifested it. Hey Benny, do you want us to send you some Gibson guitars? Is that a joke, Derek? Please, send me all of the Gibson guitars. Derek made my day because he sent me this long list of new Gibson models for me to choose from. Okay, Derek, you drive a hard bargain. What's in here is a guitar so weird that I've never even run into one in real life. But yet, Gibson said, you know what? We might have to try this again. This comes from a time called the 80s that was very, very weird. And there was all kinds of crazy guitar players doing crazy things with crazy guitars. I guess we're just gonna have to see what's inside now, shan't we? Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, behold the asymmetrical S-shaped Gibson Victory. It's light. I like light. I've said this before. I want to pick up a guitar and just have the roadie throw it to me. Hey man, cool, thanks. People are going to do one of two things. They're going to say, wow, that is freaking awesome, dude. How does it play? Or that should have stayed in the 80s. This is what's known as the smokehouse burst. That back of an 80s Buick plush seat color. Let's take a closer look at this craziness. You have a AA maple top. You got the Tune-o-matic bridge, two 80s tribute pickups, which we'll certainly get into. We got a bunch of push-pull with one volume, one tone, three-way. You got this almost like Batman kind of pickguard thing going on right here. And unlike any of the 80s ones, this one has 24 frets on an ebony fretboard. Bound ebony fretboard, may I add. You have this beautiful Explorer headstock. Grover tuners, set neck construction. You have this contour like you have with the modern series, so you can kind of grab it right here. The Victory series came out in 1981. They had the Victory bass, which is this wild looking thing that you clearly play in like a Devo cover band, and it had this strange slant pickup. The guitar that reminded me of the headstock that was originally on the Victory was this Futura. Not to be confused with the Corvus, which was the bolt-on version of this guitar. This is from 1983, so pretty much concurrent with the Victory. And if you look at this headstock, kind of crazy, they actually dubbed it behind closed doors the Limp Dick headstock. You can see that, right? Makes sense. Now take a peek at the original Victory headstock. It's kind of like the inverse of this thing, so it makes total sense that Gibson would put a super badass headstock like the Explorer. I mean, honestly, when you're playing guitar, you can just go like this. I think it's technically called the Scimitar headstock. I mean, literally, just hit myself in the face. Now, there are some seriously modern things about this guitar, and again, unorthodox things to Gibson. The first one, the glaring one, is the fact that it has a 25/5 scale. Gibson seems to be doing this a lot more lately. My first Gibson was this Gibson Nighthawk, and unbeknownst to me until years later, it's a 25/5 scale, and this was Gibson's attempt to have kind of a super strat hybrid in the 90s. So clearly Gibson is going back to that super strat idea, but also people want 24 frets now. People may want a slightly longer scale. In fact, they just released the Gibson RD Custom, first time that there's a research and development guitar in the custom line, also with a 25/5 scale. Having a slightly longer scale is more conducive to playing lower. Why not just go 26-inch scale, Gibson? I guarantee you would get a bunch of people that'd be like, why wouldn't you get the Victory? It's a 26-inch scale. It's not quite a baritone. My buddy Cory dropped by and he also saw the Gibson box. Now you have to understand my friend Cory. I have all of these guitars and 98% of them are guitars that he would never buy himself. Because Cory likes simple. No frills, straight to the kill, and that's all he wants. So I bring up a picture, thinking that Cory's gonna be like, that thing is gross. That's really cool looking. That's interesting. And then he starts asking me all these questions to the point where I told Cory, after I open this thing, can I get you on camera telling me what you think when you see it in person? Because it's one thing to go online and look at pictures. It's another thing to plug this in. I hand it off to my dear friend Cory Paza from Lost Symphony, from Allstep Studios, great producer. Want to know what he thinks.
Ooh, pretty. Yeah, this is just as cool as the picture you showed me.
So you actually like that?
I do, and I know that's weird because I hate most things that aren't traditional. It's got enough of like a classic look, and the finish is beautiful. It's got a cool vibe, I dig it. Yeah, it's got that kind of thicker feel than I generally prefer. It feels like a Gibson.
What do you mean by it feels like a Gibson?
You can kind of grab it and dig into it a little bit more than like some of the shallower neck guitars. I can't quantify the feeling of, you know, a guitar that kind of fits your style, your technique and everything, but for some reason Gibsons generally just have that vibe for me, even though if I'm using a PRS or a Fender. I love, you know, all those guitars, especially the quality guitars, especially your collection here, but anytime a Gibson is in my hand, it just feels like home. It feels like I could just get on stage and play this.
You have these two 80s tribute pickups. I messaged my friend Jim DeCola, the head luthier and the head of R&D at Gibson. The bridge pickup is a higher output pickup in the league of a Duncan JB, but not the same. The neck pickup is a little more moderate of a whine and smoother than a T-type. Both use Alnico 5 magnets. They were optimized for both full humbucking as well as when split. When split and combined, they are hum canceling, since they are reverse whine, reverse polarity. The tone control also is push-pull for inner and outer coils. Hum canceling in both modes. So there you have it from the man himself, Mr. Jim DeCola, my friend. Which, by the way, it never gets old that I get to message the guy that actually helped design this guitar and get his actual thoughts on like what these are.
So this is middle position, both pulled. Versus both in. Tone in with the volume pulled. It's got a really nice stratty feel too, so this is a pretty versatile guitar.
The original design of this Victory series came at a time when Gibson, who was known for the Les Paul and the Flying V and the Explorer, were trying to break into that super strat 80s shred realm. And they came out with a bunch of crazy guitars. The original Victory came in two versions. There was the MV2, where you could get all different types of sounds, even for country, as the literature said, back in the early 80s. And then you had the MV10, or the MVX, which basically was a 3 pickup version with a stacked humbucker in the middle, and you could do single coil humbucker, all kinds of coil splitting. Gibson was throwing a lot of spaghetti against the wall. Some of the stuff was super cool, some of it was super weird, some was super weird and super cool. So you can get that kind of like warm tone, but then, you know, you go in here. And then I can get that like more like spanky. So yeah, that's what I mean, is that it's got a bunch of different tones in it, which I like, because you never know what you need. And I don't want to have to go pick up a new guitar every time I want to try a different tone. It also has a compound radius on a slim taper neck. What does compound radius even mean? Well, the radius is kind of how round your fingerboard is. So if you play a Fender Strat, especially the older ones, it could be as low as like the 7 range. You can feel the bevel of the fretboard. You can get an Ibanez Wizard, and it might have something like a 16 radius, which means that the fretboard is super flat, which is great for sweeping and super fast picking and certain techniques that some people love. Now, the idea of a compound radius is that you can have it be slightly rounder, easier to grab around the cowboy chords. But when you want to go up for business, when you're ready to do that Warren DeMartini solo, as flat as the Midwest down here, it's got a little bit more girth. That's the whole idea of the slim taper. And then as soon as you get up here, you get more into metal territory, and it's time to rock. And that's when you really start feeling this bevel.
My final consensus is that I want one and I don't want to buy one.
Yeah, that's how I feel about every guitar that's ever sent to me, Cory.
No, this is honestly a very, very cool guitar. I think it looks cool. It plays great. It feels like it should for a Gibson.
If you do want to buy one, you can go to Sam Ash Direct, and you might even be able to get that exact one.
Oh, yeah. And it's worth more now that I've played it, right?
Obviously.
Yeah.
If Cory doesn't want to play the guitar, does it matter that you have 200 guitars? No! Cory, look what I have. Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?